Welcome to Bullies, Wimps, and Poverty Pimps, a bi-weekly podcast with me, Dr. Kish Cumi Price. Hello, and welcome back to Bullies, Wimps, and Poverty Pimps. I'm Dr. Kish Cumi Price, and we are just going to pick up where we left off. So if you recall, we were talking about the different types of poverty pimps. And if you haven't caught up with us, I strongly suggest that you go back and just make sure that you have the information. As I've shared in previous episodes, we continue to build on the information. So last week, we talked about, or a couple of weeks ago, I guess, last episode, we talked about the deceptive type. Today, we're going to talk about the savior type of the poverty pimp. So just to get us started, I was listening to Derek Miner's It Is What It Is, his song entitled It Is What It Is. And just these lyrics just hit so hard that I'm going to read the lyrics to you, and that will frame up our conversation. So I'm just reading a segment of the lyrics here, but listen to this. He says, they talk about the hood like they know the answer, but never been in. Committing sin, we gotta live. It is what it is. Yeah, everybody got the answers. They say that they plan is the master. They preaching to us like they pastors. Yeah, the government treat us like cancer. The prison system make us bastards. Our sin is on the news and it's plastered. We can't even turn to charity. They make money off our tragedy. They get the money. If life a school of hard knocks, street will teach you like academy. Everybody in their glass house tell us what we need to do to make it out. When they was born on that mountaintop, they ain't seen the bottom. They don't know the route. You think that we choose this environment? I wish I could choose an entitlement. Instead of being born in poverty and hungry hyenas surrounding me, the Fortune 500 won't hire me. So we create our own economies. Woo. Okay. Deep. Right. I know. So to get us started in just kind of breaking that down a little bit and understanding what I mean when I say the savior type of a poverty pimp. The deceptive type obviously is in it to deceive, to pretend to be for the community, but essentially with selfish motives, right? And typically financial selfish motives, right? The savior type is on the same wavelength. However, they actually believe that they are doing good and have the answers, and they are coming to save a community, that they are going to help by providing the resources that they have, and they believe that they know better. They know best for the community. Now, what gets really murky is when they come in pretending as if they don't know and saying, we want to know what you want, right? And this happens a lot. I'm a witness, which is why I'm sharing it. You come into the community saying, we're here to help. We have some resources. We want to provide those resources, but you have the answers and we need to know what you want. The problem is if your heart and your motives aren't aligned with your words, is always going to show up in the actions, right? So for these people who actually think that they're doing good or feel like they're doing good, but what they really want is accolades. What they really want is to be seen, to be acknowledged for what they're doing. They want a pat on the back, look at you coming and helping these po folks, these folks that don't have any support. You're stepping up and you're answering the call, or helping these Black folks or helping these brown folks or whatever it is, right? The problem, and many would argue with me and say, well, Does it matter? Does it matter what the motive is if they're coming to help? It absolutely does. Why? Because that deceptive factor that we talked about in the previous episode becomes problematic when you are pretending to treat the community that you're saying you're trying to help or support in a deceptive way. So you're saying, we're here to help. We want to know what you want. However, when that help is explained, the need for how we want you to help and how we need you to support, that's ignored, that creates an even bigger issue, because now not only did you waste my time by asking me and break my trust by telling me that that's what you wanted to do, but then you did something completely opposite. But now it creates an even darker hole for the people that may come after, who actually have pure motives, who actually want to know what it is that you need and how they can support. And they really want to treat the community as experts, right? You're experts on the problems because you're living in this. This is, I can't come in and tell you about your community. That's crazy to even think that you could. So that warped perspective is what we see in a lot of marginalized communities, minoritized communities, is people coming in saying we're here to help, not having pure motives about how they're going to help and what they're going to do with that information. And it creates even more distrust, mistrust, which doesn't serve the overall good of the people. So I'm going to be really transparent in sharing why I think this is a problem. Okay. So, and just track with me for a minute, but let's just imagine, I'm just going to give a dollar amount. Let's say there's a grant available to support impoverished communities. It's real generic. Okay. $100,000 to support impoverished communities. And there's an organization that says they are going to support an impoverished community and that their goal is to do that hand in hand with the community. Okay. They're awarded that grant because they said that they were going to do this thing. And maybe the people who applied pretended or had good motives initially and wanted to do that. I don't know. Let's just go with it for a minute. But let's say they get that grant. But somewhere along the way, they abort the mission. Instead of really prioritizing the community, they may go through the hoops. They may conduct the surveys. They may host a night and have the community to come in and share the information. If that community says something like, what we really want is to have services provided to us by us, meaning we want Black people, and this is, I'm assuming in this particular example, let's pretend the marginalized community is a Black community. Black people in the community saying we want, and this isn't a Black community that's in an impoverished area, okay? So I have to be specific here. They're saying we want services provided to us by us, meaning we want Black people providing the services for our community. If that organization is led by non-Black people, okay, at some point, there is a breach of mission and a breach of understanding if those non-Black leaders within that organization decide to water down the message of the community that they just assessed and say, well, what they really want, what they were really saying is that they want trusted providers. They want people that can provide quality service. They want people who they can rely on. But they fail to lead with the very thing that they said they wanted, which was providers of these services that look like them. Like, that's what they said they wanted. And you intentionally decide not to be led by their words, by their opinions, which is what you said you were going to do, right? That then informs what happens next. Because if that $100,000 that was, granted to this organization with the understanding that that organization was going to do what they said they were going to do, which was written, but then they decide to change what they heard, change the messaging, water it down, lie. And I mean, that's what it is, right? In order to be able to use that $100,000, how they want to use the $100,000, as opposed to how the community informed them that they wanted to use it. Now we have a problem. We have a $100,000 lie, right? And like I said, somebody could argue with me and say, Dr. Price, no, that's a stretch, that's a reach, that's far. I'm using this as an example because I'm trying to help you as the listener to understand just how pervasive this issue is. This happens all the time. This is what is compounded, and this is why we see marginalized populations, minoritized populations continuing to be in this place of not receiving what is due, not receiving even what is on the table. Okay, because what's on the table is not what's due, but you're not even getting what's on the table because there's this massaging and crafting and editing and lying and deception that continues to happen on grand scales that starts off with a little, what we call that little white lie, right? Well, that ain't a little white lie because you actually heard what you heard and then decided to interpret it based on your filter because you didn't want to X yourself out of the equation. Well, if you're truly standing in this space, holding space as an advocate for this marginalized population that you're saying that you're here to help, but only if you can be the benefactor of that help in a way that is real to you or serves your purposes, then there's a problem, right? There is a problem because somewhere along the line, there should be an acknowledgement of what you said you were going to do and an adherence to what you agreed to do when you received that funding, when you created your organization, when you brought your board to the table, when you met with these folks in the community that you said you were going to value as experts and actually value what they said, even if it goes against your preconceived notions of what you thought you were going to do. Okay? That is the bottom line. But it takes an extreme level of honesty and humility to get to a place where you're going to actually be real about what it is that you said you were going to do, what your initial intent, your vision, your mission is and was, and do it. Even when it makes you feel uncomfortable, because it will. And you should come into it expecting to feel uncomfortable. The problem is if you are operating with the savior complex, whether that's the white savior complex, the rich savior complex, whatever your complex is, if you come in with that savior mentality, then you are absolutely going to be challenged. You are absolutely going to be in a place where you feel like you're riding on your high horse and nobody's going to knock you down. So in that moment, that's you get knocked down because now you're not in the place and space that you wanted to be in, which was saving the community, right? Coming in and providing all the answers and giving all the services. And but now you got to scoot over. Now you got to figure out how to respond to this information that you've received that goes against what you thought it would be or what you hoped it would be, right? That's on another level. That requires a level of maturity, a level of integrity that goes beyond what most people have capacity for, which is why it can't be just one person usually. You need a group of educated individuals who are bold enough, courageous enough to call it out, which is why I'm inspired to share this information in the way that I have been sharing it, because I'm hoping that somebody's listening, somebody's picking up what I'm putting down and saying, this is right. This is a problem. I never looked at it this way. I didn't know that was happening. It's happening. I'm not giving you some one-off situation. I have seen this on several levels across states, across borders. And that's why I'm sharing that information in the way that I'm sharing it, because it's applicable across lines. If you are the savior, I'm talking to you because you need to get out of the way. You need to actually do what you said you were going to do. Be about what you said you were about. If you're the savior, if you came in, because this is what I believe, and I could be off on this, but the people that I met that I'm talking about when I say have this complex actually want to help. They really do. The problem is they want to help how they want to help. They don't want to help how they're needed and desired to be helpers, right? Like if I'm telling you, I know that's how you want to help, but that's really not going to help me. This is how I need you to help me. And then you are committed to the way you want it to help. Then now we have a problem, because I'm telling you, I don't need that help. I don't want that help, but you're saying that's how you want to help. And that's the only way that you want to help. So now we've reached a crossroads, right? There's a decision that has to be made. The decision is, are you going to continue to help? And I'm saying that with air quotes, help the way that you wanted to help, savior, poverty pimp? Or are you going to reconfigure what it is that you're doing, how you're doing it, and say, okay, I hear you. And because I hear you, let's talk about how we can work this out. What is it that I can do to really give credence to the words and the feedback that you've given me, so that you feel comfortable knowing I heard you and I'm going to respond in the way that alerts you to the fact that I heard you. I heard you so much that I am willing to step away from this table in the way that you've asked me to, in order to provide a table for you that you feel comfortable pulling up at. You feel comfortable eating at this table. You feel comfortable being served at this table, because it may require for me to scoot back. It may require for me to step out of the room. It may require for me to change leadership of this organization. I may have created the organization, but in order for me to actually serve you the way that you're saying you need to be served, maybe I need to take a step back. Who's willing to do that? And that is why I think it becomes so difficult and even offensive to hear the words poverty pimp and think you're associated with it when you had such good intent. Hear me when I say this. Your intent does not matter if you ignore the very people that you said you were coming to help and coming to serve, okay? Your intent doesn't matter, because at that point, you have literally ignored what they said, ignored their feedback, ignored their expertise, ignored their ability to identify and know the problem better than you, who does not belong to the community, who does not have the answers and decided to continue to live off of your intent, not understanding that all of that shifted when you decided to prioritize your word over theirs. Okay? So I know that was a shift because I'm trying to talk to the pimps who I know some of them couldn't care less, right? Like, I'm doing me. I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's typically the spirit of it, right? There's a spirit of arrogance and pride, right? That you know what you're doing. You got the answers. You got the resources. You can help these people because you're better off, better than. In some cases, that's what they think. And it's all wrong. So I am hoping that there's somebody listening to me who's been on this side of error, who's really like, whoa, that's me. And I need to change. Like, I need to get it right. I'm hoping there are board members listening who are challenging their own affiliation with some of these organizations and questioning, now, have I been witness? Have I bared witness to this happening and I didn't say anything? Have I heard that there were community surveys happening or focus groups going on? And have I challenged to see, did we really adhere to what they said they wanted? Or did we create our own thing and do what we felt like was best? I'm challenging you, board member. Ask yourself, because if you did not challenge, if you have not asked the right questions, you're part of the problem. If you're just bob, a lot of board members are just head bobbing, right? Like, yes, 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 agreeing with everything. Why are you agreeing with things that you don't understand? Why are you not asking questions to get a better understanding? Why aren't you challenging to make sure that you are doing the best good that you can do for a community, especially in these organizations that are saying that they're about this life, but they're doing something completely different? Why? Ask yourself that. Challenge yourself and those that are with you, your colleagues, those that you call friends, these founders of these organizations. Challenge that. And then now I'm going to speak to community. I'm speaking to the community, the people who are answering the call, right? The people who are stepping up and saying, hey, this is what we want. This is what we need. I'm asking you, go back and challenge them. If you said a thing and they're doing something completely opposite of what you said or did, challenge them. Quit wasting my time asking me for stuff that you are not going to pay attention to anyway. I don't have time to be pimped. I don't have time for you to keep calling me in and acting like you want what's best for me, and you want my opinion, and you want me to be involved, and you want me to be on your advisory board, your advisory council. And no, you don't get to use my cred. You don't get to use my name. You don't get to use my face and my name, image, and likeness to promote whatever it is that you're doing, because it ain't what I said. Like, challenge them. Okay? You need to step up because this will continue. And it's not until you step up and say, stop. Stop putting my face on flyers. Stop taking my picture and acting like I'm a part of this when I'm not. I'm here challenging you because I'm trying to get a better sense of why you're in my community and which dollars you're taking that should be poured into this community that you are rerouting for your own cause. Okay? Challenge. That's all I'm asking you is to challenge them. And that takes different I would say modalities, right? Like, it can look different depending on who you are, your personality, how you move, right? It could be, oh, I'm coming to this meeting, but I'm going to speak my mind and I'm going to challenge you. It could be, I'm not coming to another meeting. I'm not coming to the first meeting because I already see through this and I don't want to be a part of it. The danger in that, though, and I'll say it, and I started off talking about this, is that sometimes it's actually an authentic expression of support. And when we've been bamboozled by so many shenanigans, you get to a place where your heart becomes hardened and you don't want to be involved in anything, even the things that really are for the good, like really for the community, absolutely authentic. It's hard to come by that. But you don't know if you're never at the table if you decide I'm not showing up for anything. So I get it. I mean, I believe time is precious. And because of that is leading me to my next point, which is push back on the need to be engaged and say, my time is valuable and it is an investment. And I expect an expression from you to show that you understand that my time is an investment. So, what are you willing to give back to me as a member of this community, as a voice that's helping you to carry out what you're trying to do? What's your investment? Because I'm not in a place, we don't have enough rapport and trust built up for me to assume that the payoff is going to be that you respond to what I said. So now I've wasted my time if you don't respond to what I said in the way that I would expect and that you said you would. So what's your investment for my now, for my presence? What's my present for my presence? Okay. That's something you should ask for. That's a real thing that I believe, even in these grants that I keep referring to, that's a very real thing that can be written into a grant. It's incentives for the community that you're saying you're working with. You provide incentives to say, we know we're using your time. So we're going to build into this grant money for transportation if it requires you to come to us. We're building in food because if you're going to be here during a sizable amount of period of time or whatnot, we will feed you while you're here. Or we're giving you a card that you can use built in, and it's built into that grant. Okay. Like and when I say card, a money card, a card preloaded with money for you to use as a way of saying, showing our gratitude for you participating in this survey or this focus group or this activity. That can be written into many and most grants that are requiring community engagement. So ask for those things, expect those things. I hope this is resonating with somebody. As always, I'm saying what I'm saying, and in hopes that people feel compelled to do things differently, feel compelled to actually respond with a spirit of excellence in how we're treating each other and calling out what needs to be called out. That's not you being ugly about something. That's you holding the standard, teaching people how to treat you. Okay. Even, and I'm saying that from a community perspective and just, your service, whatever that looks like, whether you're the one being called upon as a representative of a community, you're being called upon as a board member, you're being called upon as an employee of an organization, hold these people accountable. If you are indeed the poverty pimp who didn't even know that you were pimping a community because you have done these things, I'm talking to you too. And I am saying, get right or go home. Pack your bags and leave, because I believe that there will be a shift. There's going to be a movement where you have a grace period to bow out on your own, or you will be forced to move on. And you get to choose how that happens. So, as always, I will end with this call to action, which is be bold, be courageous, be unpimped. And if you haven't shared this podcast with somebody who you think may need it or could be enlightened, please do. Please share it. It's been good for me. As I said, it's a cathartic experience just to share this information that I feel like I've been, I will say, blessed and cursed to receive, but it's part of my calling and I receive it as such. And part of the blessing is being able to alert people like you so you know what's happening on the small and large scale and can start calling these things out. Prevention is key. Intervention is key. Okay. Thank you again for joining me. And again, be bold, be courageous, be unpimped.